All right, first thing I did was turn off of the background noise. Hello, everybody. I'm getting better at this. I'm getting better at this.
Nice.
How's everyone doing tonight? I hope the weather's treating you well. Andrew, thank you so much for joining. Darren, Steve, as always, love the sport. I don't know if in the background Alex is secretly forcing you both to watch. It's like every night every Tuesday he's texting you. It's like, if you don't watch, I'll come after you.
I do remind them. I just like, or my comment is, I'll message you at the live stream or something like that.
uh, I always appreciate when Steve comes because he's the one who always double checks that the sound's good. Like he's always the first person to message and be like, you know what, the background music's too loud. You got to turn that down. Like, all right, Steve. All right, let's jump into this. So this week we're talking about organized play. A few weeks ago we did talk about organized play, but we talked about it holistically in the sense of like why is it relevant for the TCG space.
Mhm.
But tonight I want to talk about why is it relevant to Genesis, what we're going to be doing for Genesis, uh, some ways where we're going to be a little bit different or just smaller scaled, and why we think people should be excited about it, right? Am I setting too high of a bar for this talk?
I don't know. I don't know where my energy's at. So yeah, like you said that, and I just like, I couldn't even think of an answer.
Oh,
Oh,
it's been crazy. For people who aren't in the area, like the weather's been intense. Um, I know. So personally, I completely forgot to take have coffee this morning. Right? I just completely neglected it, and then just before starting the live stream, I have a really bad headache. I'm like, why is that? I'm looking back on my day. I'm like, yep, no caffeine, no
mm.
caffeine. It ruins me. All right. So that's some of the stuff we're going to be talking about. We're also, as promised, I'm going to be talking a little bit about second edition. Actually, probably a little bit more than a little bit. But I figured we're at a point that I know we shouldn't be saying an exact launch date because we can't promise anything. Things are changing all the time. But because things are changing all the time, I want to share with the people who are committed, who are coming and watching these live streams. I want you to know why there are delays, what we're trying to do, and once we have a date that we can announce, then we're going to be moving forward with that. So let's first start with organized play. um, let's pull back a little bit, go back to that talk we had a few weeks ago. Uh, why do you think organized play is important? And let's just put this in the lens of Genesis. Why do you think Genesis players should care about organized play?
uh, I think a big process. I know that you agree with is a drive to make yourself better, whether like it's Genesis or anything in life. You're always thriving to do something better, and when you put just a little bit of something on the line, that could be organized play, something to go to make you better. That's what you need. You need something there to drive you forward.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think there's a big sense in people who not enjoy losing, but can take a loss and turn it into a victory by improving themselves. They're the people we are very much trying to capture with Genesis,
Mhm.
because Genesis, I think there is still luck in the cards, drawing the right card at the right time, but there is a lot of it is from practice. It's from learning what to do at the right moment. Um, it wasn't until I started playing against you that I learned the value of spacing my summons apart so that they don't get hit by tsunamis as regularly. Uh, you don't People who do not play against a variety of players won't experience those niche moments. So when they come to a bigger tournament like a championship, they're not ready for that.
Yeah,
And a big part of it is, I believe, also in the sense of gearing you up towards something. So if we're going to have championships, we should have something below that so that you can prepare towards it.
that's very true.
Uh, so I think we should also take a step back. If in the chat you don't know what organized play is, let us know. But it's basically just the tournament scene the concept of um, how we're getting you to come together to play as a group and how we're organizing that. um, so there's two big components to organized play. There's the structure of it, and then there's the prizing of it. We're going to be covering both of those. What we're planning to do, that's a little bit different. Um, so for people who have watched, you'll know that we are being very hopeful, fingers crossed, that we'll be able to host a championship this year. We missed it last year. It was such a drag. I had so much fun last year. And this year, I would love to bring that back because I want to gear that up to a point where we can finally bring the art team over because they want to meet the community. I know a lot of artists, Damian, Philip, Mario, they've been asking, like, can we come at some point to Canada to experience the game in a bigger setting? So I'm like, yes, let's do that. Let's get the championships growing. So we're going to have championships, but what we're talking about today is more about playing at the local game store level. So, Darren, I'm not 100% sure, but it's okay. I want you to understand what we talk about when we say organized play, because for me personally, it was the one thing that I never heard of the term organized play until I started this company. It was just the idea of, I mainly just played in Friday Night Magic, and I heard about larger tournaments being held for Magic or for other games. I didn't know much about it, but the idea is you can have casual play at home, right? Where you're trying to play with your friends, better yourself, understand the game. But then when you go to play at a store or a sanctioned event or a championship, you want to make sure there is there's a judge around it, there's a structure around it. Am I just rambling?
I'm just laughing at the Philip, the champion artist. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I'm definitely rambling a little bit, but yes.
a little bit. Okay, a little bit.
Oh man.
They're all here. Like, we want to hear the good stuff, Sid.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, completely forget all this. Let's just jump into some cool stuff. So the first thing we want to talk about is let's show very quickly what we're working on. So we're working on a software called the Genesis Event Organizer, Geo for short. Sid needs a better microphone. Is my sound not good? I've been told that my microphone's pretty good. Maybe I just need to switch to where my audio input's coming in from.
Not too sure. I popped the. Sounds fine to me. But I'm not too sure. Which platform was that comment from?
It's coming in from Twitch.
Okay.
Is that better? Okay. So
we gotta wait. They gotta catch up to hear you.
Yeah, I know, right? We're gonna be here for like 5 minutes just waiting for someone to say, yeah, that sounds better. All right. Enough of the rambling. Let's talk about Geo. Let's show them Geo. Where is this? Let me switch this out to Chrome.
Yeah, Steven and Darren say audio is fine.
Okay.
So it might just be Twitch. Oh, you're popping when you hit max volume.
Yes, louder now. Okay. I'll try not to be so loud.
It's funny. I'm known for being very loud.
So all right. So
I'm glad it's Sid and not me.
I'm gonna make it very clear for everyone. This is still just under construction. We're in beta format. I know that's very zoomed in, whatever I have up on screen. All right. So some of the things we're looking at. We wanted to have, this is just the landing page. If you come in as a player, let's sign out, show how the thing kind of looks. I know this is kind of vanilla. I mean, it's just a tournament tool. So I'll ask Alex the question. What is it about the Genesis Event Organizer that excites you?
I think the scoreboard's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think all right, so the idea here, we're going to be having the leaderboard, which will keep your ranking, keep your score as you go on. So the idea will be when you participate in an event, you get 1 point. For each win in the event, you get a point. Each tie gives you half a point. So as long as you're participating in events, you're getting onto the leaderboard. And even if you're losing the event, you're still walking away with some points. There isn't a whole lot that's going into this that's super flashy about this app. But the thing that's really cool that I want people to know is that this is custom built. We hired a software designer to come together and build this app for us. So the thing that really excites me from a computer science standpoint, from a geeky standpoint, is how, since it is all custom built, we can start interconnecting apps together. And this is the stuff that we want to start rolling out in the future when we start connecting this app with like the Play app, with the videos we're putting out on YouTube, when all of our source material is being connected and you get this kind of seamless transition going from one end to another. But this app on its own, it doesn't look super flashy, but trust me, what's happening behind the scenes is way, way cooler than you can imagine. Plus, we get this cool banner. Come on. Who doesn't love seeing Cole run at your face?
That's fair. That's fair.
Alex, this was your first... was this your first time working with a software designer?
Yes. Yeah.
How has the experience been so far?
It's been fine. Sometimes I tune out when you guys are talking about computer stuff.
Yeah. The sound is a tad weak. It's so weird. Some people are saying I'm too quiet. Some people are saying I'm too loud. I don't know what's happening.
That's interesting. Those are literally the two opposites.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know how to fix this. All right, we're gonna keep figuring it out. All right. So for the event organizer, it's really gonna be the place once it's up and live. We're gonna be asking all stores to go in there, be an event organizer, create an account, start creating your tournaments. Once you create your tournaments, you'll be getting prize pool based on how many events you're creating, and we'll be supplying those to you directly. And then as a player, you can now sign up for events. You can do that from mobile. You can do that from desktop. Once you sign up to events, it would be cool. There's a countdown thing that will show up telling you how many days until the event. You can look for events that are closest to you. And then, is there any other features that I'm missing?
I'm sure there's plenty of features that we're missing.
The big thing that's going to be happening is that once this goes live, once the beta is out there, we're going to be looking for your feedback on how to make it better. So there is a section on there. There is a contact us where you can just send us an email, or if you have a connection with me, like everyone who's watching does, you can send us direct messages and tell us, hey, this feature's not working, or this part, I want to see improvements here. We want your feedback. I think that's the biggest thing that I want to put out there, is we want your ideas and suggestions on how to make this event organizer more powerful.
Yeah.
All right. Will is saying, wouldn't worry about the audio too much. I'm always a bit low. You're always a bit louder.
Oh.
I think it's because I'm just trying to throw you out there, right? Like, get people to listen to you. No one wants to hear me talk. All right. Let's get into more cool, interesting things. I've rambled enough, and I've wasted enough of our time. So, organized play packs.
Yes.
This was Alex's project. I'm going to let him ramble a lot about that. But the thing that's cool for me about this is it's the first time we're doing it. And I'm really excited to see how this comes out. So, Alex, do you have an intro? What do you want to say about this?
An intro. No, I don't have an intro. No. So organized play packs, I think, align perfectly with second edition. Because when we did second edition, we had to trim a lot of cards that we actually didn't necessarily want to trim from second edition.
That's true.
Just because we couldn't. I guess we could have. I guess we could have just shoved every single card into second edition, but that just wouldn't. We wanted to make a great experience for the players, and we had to choose some cards that were okay, or if their art wasn't proper art for Genesis, we didn't want to put them into second edition. We'd rather push them along for a further set to give them new art. Or there's just cards that it's like, would you rather have this card or that card? And we would both talk about it, and we're like, every day we want card A. So card B, unfortunately, got cut from the set. And not that we thought it, I don't even think we necessarily thought about it at the time. When we did that, they were just going to go off into limbo pretty much.
Yeah.
And then we were like, well, let's start talking about organized play. And I went, wait, there's all these cards that people don't have access to.
Yeah.
What if we take those ones and we put them in the packs? And then as we started looking, there was actually some pretty decent cards that just weren't getting put into second edition because, example, they're both the exact same chi. They both are blitz creatures per se. It's which one do you choose? So one of them had to get pushed out. Yeah. So these organized packs are actually filled with some very good cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think from my perspective, the one thing I really liked about it was, there were a lot of cards. So when Alex talks about cutting cards out, why we couldn't put it in, from my perspective, why we didn't put everything into second edition is it's the balance between accessibility and collectability. We want to put things in there that are hard to for collectors, that are cool to get, fun to open packs for, but at the same time, we're still trying to design the booster packs so that for people who are trying to build standard decks, like good mainstream decks, they can get the cards they need fairly easily. These edge case decks, we still want those cards out there. We still want people creating those, but we don't want to make it harder to get those other cards. So it just became a balancing thing. Let's throw the first one up onto the screen and show people what we got. So we're starting with Quicksand. Quicksand is going to be... so there's 20 cards that are in the organized play packs. And just so you know, kind of distribution rarity of everything, you're going to get 3 cards per pack, 2 of them non-foil, 1 of them foil, and it's all from the same 20 card pool. So you may get a foil and non-foil of the exact same card, but the odds are kind of slim. So Alex, tell me why Quicksand went into an organized play pack.
That's a great question, Assad. Let me tell you. The better question is, why did a Quicksand not make it into second edition? And I think that's actually an easier question to answer. Beta cards were a last-second add to second edition.
That's true.
Originally, we didn't have beta cards going into second edition, and then I went, Sid, why are we not putting beta cards into second edition? So we literally went to beta and we're like, what are the best beta cards that weren't in a welcome? Because a lot of them did get reprinted to welcome. Yeah. So we're talking about specifically the beta cards that didn't get a reprint yet. And then how we would determine which cards fit in those slots, we'd essentially pull out all, in this example, 5 Chi Bellums cards, and we'd essentially pull out all the cards onto the table. We had a certain amount of slots for 5 Chi cards, and then Sid would pick one and I would pick one, and we'd go back and forth, and then we'd have the pile, and then I'd tell Sid how he's wrong and he has to remove all of his, and then he'd go, but I like this card. And I said, all right, fine, I'll give you that one. Okay. But then Quicksand's interesting because I actually think I wanted Quicksand in second edition because I thought it was a very unique card, but you were like, it's very niche.
Yes.
Back in the day it was played. Now no one's playing it.
So
sort of.
I think one thing that makes Quicksand's one of those cards that on paper seems much stronger than it actually is. It's really, really hard to execute everything. But the people who love it a lot. And it's really great in multiplayer. There's a lot of weird edge cases where it excels as a card, but for the general population trying to play it, it's very difficult to master. And if a new player encounters it in their first game, it hinders their enjoyment of the game. If you don't have a lot of ways to deal with it, then it sucks.
That's fair. I'm just used to the quicksand trap. If you play quicksand, your opponent's gonna throw you into it.
Yeah.
Always
that's
happens.
very true. All right, next one.
Sure.
All right, JC, if you're watching, Fire Master's Dance. This is his. I call him out on it just because I know he worked really, really hard to make this artwork and make this card as cool as it is. I love the artwork for it. I absolutely love the artwork for it.
Don't think it's popped up on. Oh, there he goes. As I said it, popped up on the screen.
So I don't know which one of us made the call for this one, but I'm gonna let you go first. Why do you see Fire Masters as a good organized play card?
Maybe I'm not the best choice for this because I do not like Fire Master's Dance as a card.
Really?
I think I have like this card ain't great. Now in the future, if there is another champion that wanted to utilize fire, but unfortunately, every person I see try to use Fire Master Dance almost always puts it on Idris, and Idris it just doesn't feel right. Both because paying 5 ore to do 1 means you're not doing a fireball, it's doing 2 in the long run, in the grand scheme of it.
Yeah.
But I've seen some unique things come out of it. Specifically, the greatest part about Fire Master's Dance is around you.
Mm-hmm.
Is the point that is not commonly seen.
Yeah. I see this as a card, knowing what's coming out in the future, or like having some foresight of what's coming out in Origins and Invasions. This card will find a niche home, especially for fighters that run fire attacks. Because when you're in the thick of things, sometimes being able to knock out that extra 1 damage at the end of the round is definitely a very powerful tool. This card, so a lot of the cards we chose are because as of right now, and the next card we get into is exactly this point. Right now, there's very little play around it, but in the future, there's definitely going to be play around it. And we didn't want it to be removed from the play pool. So keeping an organized play allows for that option.
I agree.
Yeah. JC, that was the first card you worked on? Interesting for me. I'm sure it is. It's just I'm trying to remember. It's been so long.
At least an enchantment that doesn't cost exert.
It did originally in testing. Yeah, that had to get changed. All right, let's throw the next one up on screen. Do you know which one I was talking about?
I'm not gonna guess because I don't want to spoil our list. So
Volcanic Eruption.
Oh, Volcanic Eruption.
This is the card that Alex has made fun of me quite a bit about.
Did I? So I know I told the Darren story recently about a volcanic eruption, but did I tell you that story continued?
No.
So I'll tell you the first short story. Darren bought a box of each set. I pulled there was an Anger of the Phoenix and a volcanic eruption, and 2 packs left to go. I pulled a full art volcanic eruption, followed with a full art Anger of the Phoenix. And I said, wouldn't it be funny if these next 2 packs have an Anger of the Phoenix regular and a Volcanic Eruption regular? And Darren opened the 2 packs and was like, get out of here! And then got jokingly upset with me. And then Darren bought another box. And I'm like, you're going to get another Volcanic Eruption and Anger of the Phoenix. And he did! He got 2 epic Volcanic Eruptions. Anger of the Phoenixes.
So
anyway, back to the promo. So Volcanic Eruption. You know what? Technically, hey, we're talking about JC. This is the first card I affected. So I was not early on in the Future League stuff, but Sid quickly saw how much I loved the game. And I think like right before the set was going into production, went, hey, you and Steve, take a look at this list. Look over these cards. They're going to the printer like tomorrow. And there's a lot of stuff I was wrong about, but the only one that I think Sid took my word on right away to change was Volcanic Eruption here. Specifically in the HE form, it did 3 earth damage to everything in the arena. And I was just like, why would you play this? Just I don't get it. I understand it's like, well, it's a smaller costing meteorite, but I'm like, it's not that. It costs you an HE card. Anyway, we're rambling off too far from the original topic. As a promo, why would we print a card that Alex doesn't like? Or why would Alex continue to print a card where he doesn't like it? Specifically for the elemental type. Earth. And it's sort of the same with the Fire Master's Dance. It's cards that are going to want earth damage in the long run. Actually makes this card okay when you're actually just playing it for its smallest form.
Yeah.
For its smaller 2 forms. And it's actually the middle form I think you want the most usually. Because the highest form is just too hard to get. I have seen people, I'm going to lose the game unless I get this HE. Huh! And then, no, they don't get it. But, it would have been great if they did. But...
No, it was, I think it was our first attempt to trying to do this mechanic that was based around the cheat of the cards. And sure, it didn't come out as powerful as it could, but it's not a completely useless card. It's just balancing it and managing it. It's a little bit on the weaker side because earth damage doesn't have the support that it needs. So when that support does come out, this card has a good chance of seeing life again. And again, it's a situation we don't want to remove this from the card pool altogether. Yeah. All right. This one at one point was a huge fan favorite for a lot of players, and that's Trudge. The Trudge decks were a really big thing for a long time. I think more than anything, the question I have on my mind is how come we didn't put this into the set?
I do kind of agree. I don't. No, there is actually a reason why. It's because Axon has very powerful 5 checks, and that's what it is. And that's really where it came down to. What do you take Chain Lightning out? No, that despite Chain Lightning has a lot of weaknesses, specifically with evasion, but it does so much damage for the aura. It's an amazing common. We're at the end of the day, Trudge is a meme card. It only works if you're going first. That's generally the rule with it. It only works if you're going first. It doesn't progress the board state in any way. It just slows it, and you're just hoping to constantly draw Trudge every turn as one of your creatures is killing your opponent.
Yeah. I see it as a card that really only the high advanced players who truly know how to optimize a card enjoy the card. And they wouldn't run it competitively. They'll just run it casually. It's like Quicksand. It's if you give it to new players, either it will hurt someone's game experience, being like, "Oh, I don't want to play against that deck anymore." So putting it into the packs, making it super accessible, is not the best place for it. But also removing it from the card pool doesn't make sense either. There are people who really enjoy that card, and I think it has the same meme kind of feeling as Quicksand does.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
We have a guest appearance. Colette sneaking on in, running away.
I think the other thing is being able to see that card in its promo format. So I think that's another really cool thing.
Could you put it back up? If people didn't see the format there, I think it uses do we have the ailment on this one?
Ooh, yes. So, instead of creatures like Paralyzed before, used to say, exert everything in Trudge's awareness, and they cannot move or rotate for the rest of the round. Yeah. Now it says that they gain stun until the end of the round, and now stun is a keyword. So there is this concept that's coming out. If you haven't seen our talk about the rule book, you can either check that out or wait until 4.0 comes out. But the concept of ailments is coming into the game, separating all these negative effects out. So yeah, that was a bit of a spoiler I wasn't planning. But look how cool that artwork is.
I was going to say, actually, while we're looking at the artwork, are those supposed to be Brooks?
Yeah. That was the description of the artwork. Is that Stampede Brooks gets stuck inside water, and it's the same artist who did Baruch and does Trudge.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
All right. Let's grab the next one to throw up on screen. Don't need to see our faces for very long. The Behemoth. So I'm gonna start off and a bit of a explanation thing. There were a lot of 7 cheese that showed up in the OP list because really late, coming closer to like trimming down the card list, we realized we had too many 7 cheese, and we had to start cutting some. And this was the one that got cut in Chaos. You wanted to. We had different opinions.
I wanted to keep it, didn't I? I think I wanted to keep it. Yeah.
Yep. There was definitely another card that you wanted to cut. But
we won't talk about that.
I think the Behemoth in this full art format, giving it its place as like being able to see the artwork and then getting the foil version of it, it's gonna look really, really pretty.
I agree. I think not enough people play the Behemoth. Like just the 5/5 body is really strong.
Yeah, it's definitely a very fun place if you're playing like Malik Summoner or something like that, and you just need a big body creature. It does have a home. And Holy Resistance, though not super relevant, there are times where it shows up and it's annoying. I've lost games because of it, because I played long a lot. All right.
That's fair.
So I actually broke this list down into 3 sections. I broke it down into the ones that I don't think are going to have a big impact to players seeing, and this have one more, and I think that's the end of that section. Then the second part of it were ones that would be a bit more of a shock that it showed up, and then the last few are kind of the big spoilers. So the last one from this section is Wrist Throw. Wrist Throw is one of my favorite cards. Like, hands down, I don't remember. Well, it says on the card. JC created it. All right.
Hey, JC.
It's definitely one of my favorite cards in the game. It works so beautifully for the long deck that, like, being able to replace Rampage tosses, it helps so much.
Yeah.
But it didn't make its way into 2nd edition, and that's because we had to limit the amount of dual-colored cards.
Yeah. That's. I think that's exactly it.
That was it.
That's it. Yeah.
That's 100% the reason, because we had to choose how many we wanted. We decided to go with the 4/8 cheese.
Yeah.
And yeah, Aristo did not make that list.
Now, maybe it's being punished because of Peaceful Demand sins, but because we couldn't pair enough of them in the set.
No, we could have, but again, so my issue with the dual color cards in the set is more about the impact it has on the booster packs. I don't mind dual color cards in or dual affiliated cards. I should use the proper terms. I created the game, but dual affiliated cards, I don't mind them in the common slot, because a lot of times you're going to get common cards that you just can't play. But having them in the rare slot, you want to make sure that they are having a big enough impact. Now, the issue was there weren't enough dual affiliated cards to put into the common slots at the right chi points.
Yeah.
And now that it's one of those things that may or may not seem intuitive, but you do have to balance all the different chis, all the different card types, because those matter a lot for deck design. Chi matters a lot for deck design, and also the balance between the cards that cost aura versus cards that don't cost aura. And maybe it's something I'll throw up on screen one day, but we have like a whole list of analytics that automatically get populated when we make a set. It starts ripping through the cards and like figuring out how many of each card type we're using. And it gets really annoying because it binds us a lot of what we can and can't do. All right. And now we're getting into the cards that I think are a bit more of an interesting impact on players. And I think it's going to be a good conversation of like why the card is an organized play, why not in the set, so on and so forth. So the first one on that list is Rapier's Precision. You want to start this?
Sure, this is only person that I've ever seen play it, or at least seen play it effectively, is Will. He constantly tries to make it work, but even then, it doesn't work. It was held back too much, I think, in the design space.
Yeah.
However, it's still actually a pretty decent card.
Yeah. I think from my perspective, it's a card that has a really weird spot in its rarity. It deserves to be a rare for what it does, but its playability makes it want to be an uncommon or common, and it's just hard to place in a booster pack and balance out everything across the board. So I like the idea of it saying in the organized play pack, because if you get it as one of your non-foils, awesome. If you use it, cool. If you don't, then set it aside. It has some trade value. Otherwise, if you get it as your foil, it's gonna look super pretty. That's the thing that I love about the organized play cards. We got to see them in foil. We got to see that. They look so pretty. Maybe at some point I'll let you ramble for a bit, and I have my foil sheets and I can go grab them. We'll see if there's time. All right. The next one I have is I think you spoiled it a little bit early on. So
did I?
Yeah, it's the other Blitzer.
Yes, I definitely
the Tiger. Yeah. Again, so this is part of that cycle of 7 cheese that got cut.
Yeah.
And this one made sense because from the get-go, when we started planning 2nd edition, one of our big things was putting Baruch into the set with the alternate art. So we knew we wanted Baruch. That was a big deal. And also because there was other problems with Baruch. So if it didn't show up in 2nd edition as a reprint, it probably might
never
not
come
have
again.
Yeah, with big cut.
Yeah.
So Baruch had definitely a home in 2nd edition. When it comes to cutting out a 7G, it just made sense to cut Odds on Tiger, and then giving it life in organized play packs is really cool, because I know there are some people who really love the Odds on Tiger.
I'm a Baruch boy myself, personally.
So it depends on my champion. A lot of times Baruch makes sense, but there are, for certain decks, especially some of the newer champions, some of the newer styles, I really like Odds on Tiger. You've seen me with my Yamadutas. Odds on Tiger is kind of like an upped version of that. It has its value. It's just, again, it's also a card that if you had a lot of them and you could spam them, then they can be very deadly.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Let's put our faces back up so I can transition the card. All right. Man, I just realized something about Thymos. Here's another 7G. So when it came to a lot of the cards between Alpha, Beta, and J, got dropped altogether. It didn't show up in 2nd edition in organized play or in release, and that's because those cards did not live up to the muster as other cards in the set. A good example is Blink Shards. There's no reason to put Blink Shards in organized play or in the actual boost pack when Temporal Relocation's already out there. But because Blink Shards being cut, we had to cut a 7G from the other affiliations. But the problem is, Thymos has a lot of good 7G cards.
I don't know why, but I feel like you balanced the cards, but Thymos just feels like it has way more 7G cards. I don't know why, it just feels like it.
So this is the thing. There's this weird illusion in the game, and I don't disagree with that. The illusion comes up because you don't have to look at a variety of cards. If you're a Baruch person, when you're playing Thymos, you're going for Baruchs, right? That's your first gut instinct. Maybe you might look at some of the other ones, but you're probably going to go for Baruch first. And because of that, these other ones kind of fall into the peripheral visions. I like peripheral visions.
Interesting thing about this one is, well, it only has come up, I think, recently. Someone told us that this was like the most broken card in the game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which is like, if there's a card that maybe we're wrong about, maybe it was this one should have been in 2nd edition.
That's true.
But I have not been proven otherwise. Still haven't. Ooh. I've seen Steve make a crazy steal an angel with Malik in a tournament, and then give that angel like plus 12 health, and then still lose the game.
Brilliant.
So
A little spoiler, the next chapter that's coming out is called Healing Fire. And if you're not reading the chapters, go read the chapters. Carl and Brad, me and Alex, the four of us, we've worked so hard on them. I'm proud of them. I mean, even if no one else really reads them, I'm happy we still rate them because they're such a good storyline. But go read them. Seriously, the race chapters are just so good. Anyways, one thing I do want to point out, and I had to do this when I was templating these cards, is that the health symbols and stuff like that in text, they lost their color. So like health symbols usually a bit red, or symbols are blue, so on and so forth. I took those colors off to give them the white around the symbols.
Gotcha.
At first I was kind of doubting that decision. I didn't know if it was the right call to make, but after seeing them in foil, I'm happy I made it.
Fair.
Yeah, Healing Fire. Oh, it's just a good card. Steven, I do like Healing Fires. Yes, they're good. So I'm happy that they exist, and I think again, Thymos got trimmed down a lot on its 7 cheese. As I say that, I think the next card is another Thymos 7 cheese.
Is it really?
Yes,
so many Thymos 7 cheese.
But at the same time, I think Healing Fire is one of those that it's definitely more in the casual format, and people who really, really enjoy the card will still be able to get the good accessibility to them through the organized play packs. Yeah. And it incentivizes you to go and play at your local game stores. Do that. Support your local game stores. All right. And then I think this is, let's just throw it up. The next one is the Thymos 7G. It is Rain of Arrows.
Oh, yeah.
Just so many good Thymos 7
So many Thymos 7 cheese. Rain of Arrows is a big player for me. Yeah. Definitely.
It gets overlooked a lot.
Yeah. It's because of Bolt Shot. It really is because of Bolt Shot. It's funny because if it's like for me, you look at 3. You got Bolt Shot, then you have Rain of Arrows, and then you got Demon's Rage. See, that's my order. You will never see me play a Demon's Rage. You will see me play a Rain of Arrows over a Demon's Rage any day, and then you'll see me play a Bolt Shot. If I am in yellow red, you'll see me play Bolt Shot. If I'm in red, anything else, you'll see me play Rain of Arrows. So the only time you'd see me run Demon's Rage is in Sahas, and then Sahas doesn't have the life to play Demon's Rage usually. And that's my logic behind it.
So my thing is, and I think this is a big reason why we don't see Rain of Arrows that often, is because a lot of people get scared by that 8 energy cost. Mm-hmm. Understandable. It's not cheap. Yeah. It is quite expensive. So when you go to look at the 8 energy cost, you're like, well, I want to play a champion who can reduce that the most as possible. So you go to Fong. Well, then Fong also has access to Bolt Shot. Yeah. And it's like, well, I'm just going to run Bolt Shot instead.
That's exactly, 100%. Exactly.
So when the champion pool opens up in the future, and there are other combinations, other energy reductions, other champions that can leverage this, I think this is a card to hold on to for the future. You're going to find certain decks definitely can take advantage of this card really, really well.
Sure.
The thing I love about this card is this is when we first started implementing the concept of having the other cards inside the art of the current card. So this is, I think, one of the first pieces where we did that, where I'm like, use the Death Eater, use the Fire Elemental, and use the Pyrawad, which was originally shown in Rampage Toss. So this one summon has been on 3 different cards.
Dying in every single one. At least the elemental there, he's got a shield up.
That's so true.
The Death Eater here, he looks like a romantic here. He's got the arrow in his mouth.
He's like, I can do it. He's just walking into it. He's like, whatever. No. But yeah, the funny part is the pirate shows up twice, like on Rampage Toss and Rain of Arrows, before even seeing print itself, and then finally sees print, and like I think it will see a lot of play in the future. I think it's definitely, it may not have a home right now, but in the future, I think. Actually, people should know what card I'm talking about because it won
Yeah,
the
that was
pitch
open
contest
information. Yeah,
for
it won the
the
pitch
Feld
contest.
Spectre. So go back, look at the pitch contest, Feld Spectre, Pyro Rod, Rain of Arrows. It's all coming together. My master plan.
Yeah.
All right, we're out of the Thymos 7 cheese, but into the Axon. All right. I'm going to preface this by saying this was probably the hardest card
This was the hardest
to
one.
cut from second edition, but I think we made the right call on it.
Mhm.
And that's Cog Restrict.
Yeah.
This was
It's sad. It's sad in a way.
yeah.
It's sad in a way, but I think if you want Cog Restricts, there are a lot. There's still Cog Restricts out there, and usually if you're playing Cog Restrict, you don't need that many in your deck. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
This
was I think that's one of the big reasons behind it, and this was probably one of the hardest. What was I gonna say? Yeah. So for Cog Restrict, the big thing was if you are playing an organized play, the beta versions I don't think go for very much. Like that's the big key for them, is because a lot of people really wanted those JLR versions.
It's a pretty art. That's why.
Yeah, and it fell out of favor. That's the thing. Like back in beta, the card was played very heavily, and then it got a really nice artwork, and then it just stopped seeing play as much.
Now, actually, it's on my list of cards that I think will come back.
Oh yeah,
high playability again. It is actually on my list. I think with the bigger card pool, where Cog Restrict is the best is when you're counteracting bigger things.
Yeah,
so you need those bigger things to counter.
That's true.
So as the card pool grows, there's always going to be bigger things coming out or more important things that you need to negate.
Yeah,
here and there.
I think that was the time where Cog Restrict saw the most amount of love was when the Angel decks were brand new.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to Cog Restrict, when people realized you could Cog Restrict the Beckon ability, it was just, that was key. To Cog Restrict that as much as possible. Because paying 17 and 7 for the 8 at 25, like that 1-for-1, it was just so worth it. Yeah, it's such an artwork. Alright, what's the next one on my list? Let's see. Yeah. This one
You've got enough copies, Steve, of Cog Restrict. Don't you lie.
Yeah. Andrew, I want to see Rain of Arrows as full art Patreon promo. So, Patreon promos are going to be interesting moving forward. I'll give you this advance notice now for everyone who's part of our Patreon program. Your July Patreon packages are going to be a little bit delayed. And I'll get into this more when we talk about second edition, but it all kind of just tied together in a very interesting way. They are going to be a bit delayed, but I don't know. Because of Rain of Arrow now getting that organized play, I might not do it as a full art, but we'll always see what our options are as we move forward for Patreon promos. But if
Patrons, they weren't commonly rare, were they? I think they've always been uncommons, no?
What, the Rain of Arrows?
No, Patreon.
They started off as commons, then we moved to uncommons. Between Jay and Ray's, I think our first uncommon was Epiphany.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was just sorry. Just thoughts on was Rain of Arrows ever on the docket to be printed as a Patreon?
Andrew was asking about that in the chat.
Yeah. And which still makes sense because commons and uncommons aren't getting full art treatments, the foil treatments. Stuff like that.
That was the big point of the Patreon promos, was that rares all got their epic treatment. Let's give commons, uncommons an epic treatment, and that's where you get the Patreon promos from.
Yeah.
All right. Next one off, Malefic Shakti.
I don't know if you can talk about this. I have never liked this card.
Yep.
That's just it.
Yeah. So Alex very much wanted to cut this from second edition. I don't disagree. I think it's a very interesting card. It has a lot of power to it, but I think when you combine all the sets together, its utility starts declining a little bit. So in second edition, as a whole, looking back at all the sets, it wasn't as strong as it was in the days when it was just J and Beta.
Yeah.
But on the other side to it is if you want to remake that original Rain OTK deck, this was a very important tool to that deck because it's a cast ability instead of an attack ability, allowing you to drop 2 of them to kill an angel or allow you to get through particular niche spaces that you normally couldn't. That's what the value was for the Shakti. I don't know what its future is going to be like, but we didn't want to completely close the door of the Rain OTK. But I think the newer life of the Rain OTK doesn't run this card as much.
Yeah. From what I've seen playing Meta Mondays, it's not run at all.
Yeah. But I also think there will be a player in the future who brings some value to this card that we weren't thinking.
For sure. Like, don't get me wrong, the awareness is amazing.
Yeah. And on top of that, the fact that discard is part of the cost, it allows for potential future synergies.
That's fair. That's definitely fair.
Especially with Necro. Speaking of the Rain OTK, here's the other part of that puzzle. The Sephard Ascension.
It's just, that one's an easy one. That's an easy one. It is not played except in the OTK and only as a 1 or 2 of.
How many people in the chat knew that this was Malik on the artwork? Because there are so many people who did not realize that.
I don't think I realized that until you told me it too.
That is Malik turning into a snake.
Lost my sound. There we
go. Yeah, and you can see like it's yeah. I love the artwork. That's why it's on the booster pack. See, I had reasoning behind that. Yes, so it being only played in the OTK is definitely a reason for it to be removed from the set, because even in the OTK, it was used as kind of a niche way to get extra damage against champions like Malik. But I think the other thing is the reason why we don't want to just not reprint it and also keep it in the organized play pack is because we are going to be paying more attention to the element types as the game goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And when dark damage becomes more of a thing again, people are going to want this again. So if you have them, hold on to them. If you get them in your organized play pack, there's definitely going to be value for them in the future. All right. Let's get to one of my big baddies.
Okay.
Primordial Force. This card was definitely going to see some sort of reprint. It was not going to just disappear. It's one of the first cards made for this game.
And I'm like, get rid of it, Sid. Get it out of here. No. This one, I still respect Primordial Force. I am just saddened that it's not playable. Is actually where I feel where Primordial Force is. It should be playable, but it just for some reason it isn't. It just isn't. That's it.
I do see a feature where it can be very, very playable.
Yeah, I do too.
And how do I put this? Like, it's just its niche space for the game was not quite there. It's great if you're drafting, but because it's moved to organized play packs, you don't get that opportunity to draft it. So that would be. Ooh. Anyways, I have ideas, but
oh no.
I think the big downside was that it was priced at, like, the pricing of it was for a version of the game that was not the exact same as what went into print. So it was priced a little bit too high. I think at 30 aura, it would have.
I don't think did we have this conversation, Sid? Yeah. No, this is it. If we were to price this exact card into the game now, it is extremely undervalued.
Oh yeah,
and that is why I don't know why it doesn't work. And I mean like half the cost of what it should be.
So here's the other part about the game. this is a big thing about Genesis that doesn't always ring true of other games I've played, not just TCGs, but other games as a whole. When you in other games, usually when you have an opportunity to strike, you strike. You want to get the most bang for your buck, but you always take the advantage to attack. In Genesis, unless it's a free attack like your exert attack, you usually want to hold on to most attacks until it's absolutely necessary. Primordial Force is always a reason for your attacks to be absolutely necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have that rain of arrows that you've been holding on to, and all of a sudden Primordial Force hits the table, and your only target is a Primordial Force, it still can be justified. You can still say it's worth it.
Yeah.
Where if your opponent just played Galarian Hounds, they would not play that rain of arrows, waiting for a better opportunity, which could give the Galarian Hounds an opportunity to go hunt down your opponent and strike.
Yeah.
That's why Malicious Persuasion was such a great card, because Primordial Force would hit the table, everyone would focus on it, and then it would move out of the way, staying alive for just one round, and then it just wreaks havoc. So that's why Primordial Force, it wasn't the key part about the Titan deck, it was Malicious Persuasion that was really what made that deck. And Lightless is just overall a better card, which is, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And that's
so I don't think we even mentioned that. It's like the question literally was, who goes into second edition, Lightless as the HE or Primordial Force as the HE? And it's just Lightless is just slightly more playable.
Yeah. Like for the community, for new players, for veteran players, get Lightless. Yeah. It's better, it's cheaper, it can hit angels, it can stay alive a lot longer. You don't have to invest as much. But if you want to give yourself the challenge of upping your game as a summoner, try playing with Primordials.
And Will had a comment here. He said, I wanted to love Primordial Force, but I couldn't get it to work. We all had that experience.
Yeah. So
when you open the beta packs or the alpha for you, you see this big boy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I want to play this big boy.
Yeah.
And then you play the big boy, and the big boy just falls over.
Yeah.
You're like, no!
So I remember when beta first came out, like that pre-release weekend, we did a draft, and there was like 4 or 5 of us, and Carl was there, and I was facing against him in the first round, and I think like round one or round 2, he drops a Primordial. I'm like, seriously? That thing is a beast. Like, how am I gonna take this out in a draft? I finally put all my effort in. I finish it off, and he's like, and my second Primordial. And I was like, no. No, I just scooped up. I'm just gonna deal with it. Yeah. The thing is, when you do get Primordial to work, it's very, very satisfying.
Fair. That's fair.
All right. This one is another one that saddens me. It saddens me a lot. But Alex is extremely happy that Demon Scrolls is not in the set.
You know what? No, it made me. I feel bad to make me really happy. It wouldn't even be in the organized play kits. But you know, it'll be a pretty card in the organized play kits.
Yeah, I agree that it's really hard to justify getting this into your timeline.
Now, one day when we make those 50 chi cards.
Yeah. There is always a chance that this card might see some life in the future.
Yeah.
With champions with more health, where it isn't about getting a particular card, but just having a lot of variety in your deck and getting the right card at the right time. That's where this card could shine. Like if you're running a 50 card deck with 20 different cards in it, and you'll have a champion that starts off with just like 26 health, then this card has a purpose because it's about finding those right swifts. However, up to this point, there aren't a lot of swifts that you can grab in the game that are unique enough to really make a difference. Like really, if you're playing Axon Chaos, you got Pressure Point, you got your 3 Ts, you got Cog Restrict, you got Chrono Walker, there's really just that, right? So you
Yeah.
might as well just run more of those cards. But when there's like 17 different cards to choose from at the right time, that's where it can really make a difference.
Now, I don't want to sadden you, Sid, but I just found an issue.
Yeah, I know.
There's an error on Demon Scrolls.
Yeah, I just noticed that too. Everyone's seeing it live for the first time here. That's why I stuttered and stopped, and I was reading the card, and I was like, shoot. All right, we'll let everyone know who's watching right now. There's an errata on this version of Demon Scrolls. It's supposed to be swift speed. It's action speed. But I will
Luckily,
say,
it's not playable. No one's gonna play it anyway.
I was not the only one who reviewed this card list. This isn't only on me. But yes, we made a mistake. We're human. It happens. We couldn't release a set without at least one mistake. At least it's in the organized play pack. Like. Moving on. Comically enough, this is another card that I'm a little sad. Actually, I totally get why this card is not in the actual set, but is in the organized play packs, and that's Divine Covering.
Yeah,
I
agree with the statement. Yeah, it's just an understandable one that Purifying Wave just tends to be slightly more important.
Yeah.
For the meta game specifically, I would say. I think for the casual player, I don't know, because people like to blow up the board. So
yeah, like for me personally, I really love Divine Covering because there's a lot of weird niche things that you can do with it, especially the fact that its second ability, that says prevent all damage dealt to you and everything adjacent to you this round, that travels with you. So if you can start moving during combat, like your opponent attacks one of your things, you move right adjacent to that thing to prevent damage to it, that could be really fun. And that's stuff that I like taking advantage of. So for me, as a casual player, that's a really cool card. But on the competitive side, you want to be running the Purifying Waves at that point.
Yeah, and because it's a HE, you usually don't need many of them, is the other thing.
That's a big thing, is like when we're designing the set, we're trying to find the cards that people need a lot of. So things like Bolt Shots, things like Chrono Walkers. We want to give those to you and give you the opportunity to get as many of them as you need a lot easier than before. Divine Covering, you probably only need 2 of them in your collection for playability. Like, I wouldn't ever run more than 2 of these in time.
Daring, giving out secret information. Wow. Sid gave you this secret information, and Darren's spoiling it in chat right now.
Say la vie. All right. I don't know which one to do next. All right. We're gonna do this one because I don't think it's as big of a surprise, but we're getting pretty close to the end of the list here. All right. Oh, this talk's going really long. It's okay. Stay with us. We got a lot more things to talk about, which are really cool. I got the energy. I took a caffeine pill just before this talk. I got energy for days, or at least for another few more hours. All right. Let's throw up Vampiric Kiss.
Ooh.
All right. This is one of my, there's so many cards that I absolutely love, but this is the artwork that I tell people, if I did not create the game, this is the artwork that would have got me into the game. It has that dark tone. It's vampires. There's just so much about it that's really, really aesthetically pleasing for me, because I love the macabre. I love the the gothic, right? And the fact that you get a form for a vampire that's not seen very much. Like, you don't see that African American with the dreadlocks. That's a very different, not very different, I'm sure it's out there, but you don't see that as much, especially for someone who grew up on, Bram Stoker's Dracula, An Interview with the Vampire, and, TV shows. Most TV shows have vampires with the very, very pale look. So this really, really stood out to me, and Leslie did an amazing job. And on top of that, this card was super overplayed. My first OTK was Vampiric Kiss. Teleported in with rain, played enough Vampiric Kiss to kill my opponent. That was my first OTK.
I think the real question here is just why isn't it in second edition? I don't even remember.
So there's a few reasons. One was the art is not canon. And that was a big part of second edition.
That's right. Yeah,
Everything
yeah.
moving forward from beta, we want to make sure that the art was canon, and this character is not in the game.
Yeah. Okay.
The second part to it is there's not as much love for this card as it was before. It's a great card, but I don't know anyone who's trying to make this work right now. Even in Future League, it's not seeing that same kind of love. It's
true.
Just too slow. I think I'll play it just because I love the card, but I don't think it's a card that shows a lot of favor. So that's my reasoning behind it. Great card though. Love that one. All right. Now we're getting into some of the more surprising stuff.
All right. Surprise me, Sid.
All right. Okay. This one is going to be a really interesting inclusion into the set. It's a card that's never seen reprint from its alpha days. And that's Oni! To Alex's insistence, Oni is seeing reprint into the game. This is purely for collectability. Don't try to build a deck with it. I know people out there will. They will. Don't, but they will.
I gave you the power, people. Prove Sid wrong. Go forth to all your tournaments with your Oni decks.
There's nothing about this champion that particularly stands out. It's hands down just a weaker form of almost every Thamuz champion. So it has a leg up on Malik because it's 10 more aura. But that's it. Okay. That's the only advantage against Malik.
Would you give 10 aura for 10 life?
10 aura for 10 life and energy reduction and a second ability and a second affiliation. No. And really what it reminds you of is just a very, very weak version of Fall. But she is one of the 3 original champions that never, and she never got print. So the original 3 were Malik, Idris, and Oni. Malik was supposed to be your Chaos champion. Idris was supposed to be Bellum, and Oni is Thamuz. Things got moved. Changed quite a bit. Yeah, Oni was there. Did see some play in the original beta testing that happened at ANC and face-to-face way back in the day. But only printing of Oni, there's 2 printings. One were the original demo decks from Alpha, which I don't think a lot of people have. And then the second printing was in the Alpha gift boxes, but never showed up in a boost pack. So the only way to really look at it is in the organized play right now.
Yeah, I wanted Will, why does Oni look like your angry backstabbing ex? Because, it was designed around.
Yeah. We peered into the future.
Yeah. I just wanted people to, get this one collectible piece that they normally couldn't. And that's it.
Yeah. So, Steve, you're asking about canon. So keep in mind, everything that's an organized play is not canon per se. It's just we want to give players the ability to get those cards. So you can think of an organized play as kind of like the extended universe or beyond. All right, it's not the actual core storyline that we're looking at. And then comment coming in from CobraJet82 on YouTube about the upcoming foil cards. Did you choose to use the rainbow foiling from MTG and Flesh and Blood that curls the cards like Pringles, or did you choose to use Etch foil, MTG cold foil from Fab? So yes and no. The rainbow foiling, yes, it is rainbow foiling, but it's a different process than what the other companies do. We have, let me grab some of my foils. So this is some of the foils. They've been in a box for a long time and not like kept very well. They do curl a little bit, but it's still not like insane amount. So I think if you just leave them, it won't be that big of an issue. It curls as much as most foils do. But the part of the reason why we didn't do the cold foiling is the cost, right? We're trying to keep the game cost and production value to a point where you as a player, you're not overspending for the product, right? We want to make sure that we can do things within our budget, and this foiling is definitely within our budget. In the future, we might look into some fancier versions, but this should be fine. The other cool thing is that we talked to our printers about this, and the way they finished those cards, the foil that I just showed you, they're not going to be using the same finishing process, and they're going to be doing something a little bit different, which should not cause the cards to curl. Yeah. Is there anything I'm missing there, Alex?
Nope, you got it.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Then the next promos. This is where things are going to get really, really interesting. We had 2 cards that were going into organized play, but I definitely wanted to change the artwork for some of them, for both of them. So we debated, we tried to figure out what to do, and we decided, okay, let's commission these artworks. Let's actually reach out to our art team and make brand new artwork for these cards. So both of these cards are big fan favorite cards, and the first one we're going to start with is Death's Companion. Getting brand new artwork, finally getting its reprint, so you're going to be able to get your copies of it, and you still have an opportunity now to get it in foil. It's going to be absolutely amazing. So this is one thing that I thought about after we got the artwork for it. And I mean, how come we didn't put this into the set with the new art?
Well, when we were originally deciding this, yeah, I just thought about that right now. I'm like, wait a second, we gave them new art, so they could have existed in the regular set. So they weren't canon. So then we were giving these upcoming pieces some new art, which would have then made them canon, which meant they could have went into second edition.
Yep.
But we weren't thinking about that at the time. We're just like, well, they're non-canon. They gotta go with the organized play kits. It's all right. We made them pretty. So now, now you're gonna really want those organized play kits.
Yeah. And I think also keeping these outside of organized play, these 2 cards in particular, it is going to create a chase factor in the organized play kit. We couldn't just put all the good stuff straight into second edition. We had to pick and choose, and I think the 7 cheese we chose for all the affiliations were the right ones for second edition, especially since I don't think any of them were planned to be commons or uncommons, and Death's Companion has always had a very weird relationship with rarity.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It should have been a rare, but it
would have been a rare to me. Yeah.
And I don't think that would have been comfortable with players going from a common to a rare.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an upshift we're comfortable with. So putting it in the organized play kit now gives you a reason to go play more at your stores, try to get copies of these. And then if you're looking for them purely just to play with them, the single market should have a lot of them. Like, players should have a lot of these cards if they bought beta, because they were there.
It's definitely, if you wanna make a value like Angel deck and not actually run Angel Retribution, you can make a Death's Companion deck easily for way less cost.
All right, so Cobra Jet follows up. Okay, I understand your point about rainbow foils, but when cards are unplayable, I'd rather pay a bit more for a playable foil than paying less for unplayable one. But we will see how these ones do. So, fingers crossed, we're hoping for the best. Keep in mind, as a company, we're still growing and learning, and we want to improve. So this is our first attempt at making these organized play packs. We are going to be, hopefully, as the game grows, we'll get better at doing the foiling, at doing manufacturing, at getting timelines in place. And we'll be talking about second edition as we go over by 15 minutes already. So I definitely request that if you have areas that you want to see the game improve on, highlight them to us. And I really appreciate the fact that you are highlighting this, because it is one of the questions we went directly to the manufacturer and we asked them, hey, this is a concern of ours. how do we avoid it, right? And if this process doesn't work, if these foils do not come out as nice as we want them to, then we're going to try something different for the next time. We won't repeat the same mistakes. The second part to it is organized play kits should be free to the stores, which means they should be free to the players. Our plan is to give, for each tournament a store hosts, they get 3 organized play kits to give out. What was our stance on it?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
they will be free to the store, so they should be passed down to the players for free. So you shouldn't be paying for these foils, for these promos. These should be your incentive.
I'm going to make a statement here for said. There's most likely that the event you'll be in may have a fee or whatever that store does. We aren't, Haunted Castle isn't associated with what the store owners cost for the events, but yes.
Yeah, thanks for correcting about that. My point was, yeah, it's up to the store to figure out how to distribute them, but it's, at the end of the day, these are your incentives to come play organized play.
Yeah.
All right, we got one last promo we want to share, and then we're going to be going into talking about second edition a little bit. So our last promo, I'm super excited about this, is Pressure Point. Brand new artwork for Pressure Point, making it canon. And this, I'm going to let Alex talk about this. This is one of his favorite cards.
Yeah. If you don't got Pressure Point and you're an Axon, you're doing it wrong. That's it. You're doing it wrong. There is no reason that you don't have a minimum of 1. Probably should be in the 3 or 4 area. That this 3 chi is great. If we talk about Bolt Shot being so powerful at 7 chi, there's no reason that your deck cannot put in a 3 chi that can counter that.
Yeah.
Now, of course, your opponent can play around it, and that's proper playing, but you should have this in at a 3 chi, and then you can still play your main deck however you like and have counters to the best cards in the game.
Yeah. Like, when I see Pressure Point counter Bolt Shot, Rain of Arrows, and whatever other been great counters, I've seen it against Substrike's a technique, right? So, yeah, this would counter that as well. And, yeah, it's such a versatile card, and has seen so much love as the game kind of grows. It's one of those ones that everyone is really excited about Combust and runs a lot of them, and really enjoys running those. I would recommend cutting down the amount of Combustes you have and getting in some Pressure Points. Mm-hmm. And if you're playing with Forethoughts, put in a couple of shutdowns in your Forethoughts. Yeah. Pressure Points in your main deck, shutdowns in your Forethoughts.
Very correct.
Because Pressure Points, depending on how heavy of an energy deck you are, they're still free. And if your opponent's running to your face and making that mistake of playing techniques in your face, you should be punishing them for that. It's such a good card. I love that artwork. All right. That is all the promos that's coming out with Organized Play. Hope you enjoyed that list. Let's talk a little bit about second edition. So, in my mind, I've been going back and forth with this idea of how much do we talk to the community about what's happening behind the scenes. And my cat was just hiding behind the door. It was so weird. So I'll let you know. So last week, was it, Alex? We went over to Quebec?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So we went there and we looked at the printing process. How's that being done? How's it being managed? And then it was supposed to go straight from printing over to production so that they could start cutting the cards and packaging everything together, getting it shipped out into distribution. There was an issue. They went to go cut the cards, and as they cut the cards, the cards got severely damaged. Like the plates that they were using to cut the cards were not sharp enough, and because of that, you got on the back of the cards there was a bit of a fraying. On the front of the cards, there's a bit of a gutter, and then the cards warped a little bit from that cut. And they did that with one or two sheets and realized that it was not good. It did not pass quality check. So they now passed it back to the people who make their plates for cutting and asked what the issue is. They're investigating it right now, but we're now trying to figure out what is our best approach. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. So we're trying to figure out what's the best approach for production, because we still want to get second edition out there as soon as possible. That's what we're working on every single day, is trying to figure out how do we get it to the players so that there isn't so much of this downtime, that you're not just sitting around waiting for so long. But on the other hand, we want to make sure that we're delivering quality product in your hand. Thank you, Darren. We want to make sure, like, do I have any beta cards nearby? There's no point in me showing it. You can't see it through the camera anyways. Like, we want to make sure that we're making steps forward as we make the game. We don't make steps backwards. And every time we make a new step, we are calculating the risks and we are doing what is best for everyone. So that's part of the delays that are happening right now. I think we made a good decision of what we're going to do moving forward. But I want to double check what's happening there before giving confirmation. So if you're not following us on YouTube, start following, because I am going to be releasing daily vlog videos. They should be short 1-minute videos. I put one out today. I used to do these. I really enjoyed them, but I got kind of distracted with work. So work distracted me from doing work. So I'm going to start putting out these 1-minute videos, and I will be updating everyone there on what's happening, what our decisions are moving forward. So that's where we're at. Is there anything I'm missing there, Alex?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. If only I could show you the photo of like how the cards kind of came out. It was so bad. Let me see if I can find those.
So I want you guys, when he puts a video every single day, to post, comment, be like, when's the release date on every single video he posts?
So I don't know if this is going to show up well in the on the camera, but I don't know how well you can
very see bright.
Yeah, I know, right? But you can, there you go. You can kind of see how the side of the cards are very white.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from that frame. And you can tell that the center of the cards are being indented inwards. So it's not so much like creating a pretzel or a Pringle. It's more creating a bowl. So this was just like, it was such a shame, because otherwise we would have been on very good track. And I'll be sharing some very positive news with everyone very soon. But now we'll have to put some delays, because I just could not feel comfortable selling the product like this. So that's where we're at with second edition. If you have any questions, throw them into the chat. The chat's been a little quiet for a little while, since I sneezed at least.
Ruined it, Sid.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, Andrew, I agree. It is very disappointing that it happened this way. But I am very grateful that our manufacturer takes as much pride in what they deliver to us as I do to delivering to you. He would not allow the product to move forward with this quality. So they stopped the presses, and they decided it's better to double check with me, double check with the team, and do what we tell them to do moving forward. So we could have moved forward and got the product out to you sooner, but you would not have been happy. No one would have been happy. So that's where we're at right now. And the thing is, normally if COVID wasn't around, we would be in Quebec right now overseeing this. So decisions could be made faster, but it's just safer for us to, at least not until everyone's gotten the second shot.
Yeah.
That's where we're at with second edition. And that's everything we have for organized play.
Right.
We don't have a topic.
A little over the time. We don't have a topic.
All right. So no pressure. When should we expect Welcome to J2? Is there a timeline? So it's a complicated thing. As of right now, until we know what happens with the new process of cutting the cards, the new manufacturing process. We can't get that timeline out there. But I know they had trouble on two different machines. One is the machine that cuts the cards, and the second is the machine that puts the cards into the booster packs. Both of those machines are giving them trouble right now. I'm blaming Upper Deck for that because they also do Upper Deck projects there. It's probably not their fault, but there is delays on those two sides. So once I can get those timelines, make sure you're following us on YouTube, and I'll be posting out those daily videos for you to get those updates. All right, we've gone over time enough. Let's wrap this up. I'm gonna throw up the closing screen there, and say thank you to all our Patreon members, because I was watching a video from one of the content creators, Red Zone Rogue, and he made the amazing announcement today that he quit his day job and he is doing his YouTube channel full time, and a big portion of that has to do with his Patreon members. So if you don't watch Red Zone Rogue stuff, go check him out. He did a couple of videos about Genesis, and they were great. I love him. He's such a great guy, and so I just want to give that same gratitude to our Patreon members. All right, I think we both got to get going. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.